Welcome to the Mile High PotCast. We're your guides through sordid tales of movies, music, and pop culture. Our show is best experienced under the influence of cannabis, so now is your cue to light up. Now remember, drugs are dangerous. Please use responsibly, but do subscribe. And now your hosts, James Thomas and David Hawk.
Tonight, thank you for joining us. It is a Women in Weed themed episode, and this is only my second time hosting, so I will fumble a little bit through this. Thank you again for tuning in. And today we have Kayla. Thank you so much for joining us, Kayla. And we have Courtney, our good friend Courtney, and our kind of local ask and you shall get answers regarding cannabis, Courtney.
Yes. Cannabis Courtney, that's me.
I like that. I was trying to find something with the same letters. It finally came to me. I can't believe it took that long.
I'll take it.
So let's start with Kayla, because you are new. Again, thanks again for joining us. I know that it's a weird format, and it's always almost feels like you're inviting people into your home, and so I appreciate this very much.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Kayla, can you tell us a little bit about what you do? Because you're real estate, but it does apply to women in weed. Can you explain that connection?
So just preface it, I don't work in strictly cannabis. I do my focus is in real estate or retail and industrial. And I've realized that a lot of my clients or potential clients have needed space for cannabis, whether it be cultivation, kitchen, a dispensary. So those two sectors are retail and industrial. It's kind of my focus. So
awesome. And what got you to that? Because my understanding is before the pandemic, you were not doing this.
No, it's kind of a trip. I was working in music and art and hospitality. So with COVID, all that went down. When I lived in New York, I did a little work for the music industry out there, and that was really fun. I worked at some venues here, and I'm really excited though about this shift to not work in music anymore. As much as I love it, I also love now being able to just like go to music as an escape and not because I'm working. But it was pretty cool and it lasted.
Nice. Well, I mean, I am sorry. I know a lot of industries have taken a hit. I also found myself in a situation where I had to, regroup a little bit and change my career as well.
Totally. But it's really just about like how you interpret it and like the steps you take, and are you progressing or are you degressing? And I think overall, as hard as the pandemic's been for a lot of people, I'm pretty lucky to say that I've utilized it as an opportunity to progress. And now I'm here. So
exactly. I think what got me a lot of times from going back to school was not having the time. And with the pandemic, I had nothing but time. So all of a sudden that excuse was kind of gone. And, same thing. It was a push into the new journey, not so much a desperate moment. So that's a great transition there. And Kayla, can I ask you, what is the biggest difference between, or are there like specific features when you're looking at commercial retail property versus cannabis industry? Like once you throw that in, how does that change things for you?
There's a lot. That's like a very dense question. A lot of it is not in my expertise because it deals with licensing. So usually for licensing, you would liaison that to a consultant or somebody who's worked in the industry. It's a little more on that side of it. But what I have are the zoning updates. Zoning is divided by, it goes micro then macro essentially. So the town has the most power. So you have to start by figuring out like the county, and then you have to narrow it in, and then you have to keep going, and then it's a lot of zoning based. And within each zone, there's a way to constantly change the zoning use. For example, in order to be, you have to be X amount of feet away from a school, X amount of feet away from certain businesses. And if those are established there, unless if you're grandfathered into the laws, you're at risk of jeopardizing your business. So it's always changing. And so that's why it's nice to have people who work in real estate to help try to assist you with that, because it's very dense.
Interesting. Yeah, I would imagine, like you said, it's new, it changes a lot. I know some stuff was proposed again this summer that changes some things, and I don't remember the names. I won't bring them up in detail. So
yeah.
Interesting. And before this, you said you went to art school in New York and your background was in music. What kind of music did you work in?
And then I worked doing events at a music venue in Colorado for a little bit as well.
Look at you.
What venue?
I did a little work for Red Rocks
for
their 2018 season, and then in college I was working for Relics music magazine.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was a really fun experience. I've met some of my closest lifelong friends there. I'm really blessed to have that. I'm also really happy with where I'm at now.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like
really good.
It's kind of, I mean, new-ish, and certainly, you know, there's still room for growth. I don't really see it fizzling out anytime soon. So
probably not.
That's awesome, and good luck to you with that. I you know, lots of money and provide lots of people with great commercial real estate.
It's just more so about getting cannabis in people's hands. It's been really beneficial in my life. Like, I have anxiety, it calms that down. I have a medicinal card for it, and it's just like, it lightens everything up like a bowl at the end of the day. It changes people's lives. So like, why not help people?
Right.
That
it's
happen?
not normalizing
Yeah.
it. It's about
Totally.
normalizing it, and just, you know, I had very open, awkward conversations with conservative coworkers when it was being passed to legalize it. And I was like, your kids go to school, right? That money's going to their schools. So why wouldn't you vote for it? If you don't smoke it, you don't smoke it. And that was like the foot in the door kind of approach. So I'm all about it. I hear you.
Yeah.
Miss Courtney, how are you doing?
I'm great. Living the dream, you know, every day.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. How's your summer going?
Well, you know, I just busy. I just work. But that's okay. You know, working for the cause. So getting stuff going, making sure that, you know, people can get supplied. So,
awesome.
But that's been my summer. Nothing exciting, really.
So I noticed a lot of companies are experiencing like supply chain issues that seem to be kind of relics of the lockdowns. How's that going with you?
It's been interesting, you know, it's a weird thing. So like, you know, last year cannabis sales were up in insane amounts, right? Because everybody was home, they could stay home and just smoke weed all day. Right. Now everybody's kind of out there partying, you know, like my beer, and you know, they can't keep enough on the shelf. And we're blowing through cartridges, we're blowing through joints, you know, we're blowing through like party stuff, you know, people are out, they're traveling, they're going, and it's just not the time to sit inside. So it's like we've just been dealing with the fact that like sales are down, and that's not what we're used to this time of year. Like right about this time of year, normally I'd be paying way more for weed, you know, to supply my shelves because everybody is strapped for supply, and like this year it's the exact opposite. So it's been a really interesting time in the cannabis industry because, you know, we've all been expecting these mad sales, and it was just kind of dead silent there for a second because I think everybody was like, oh, let's actually get out of Colorado. Let's leave. Let's do stuff, you know? So that's been interesting, you know? And also more states went rec. So we'll see how that starts to pan out. But I mean, I will still stand by Colorado weed all day. Like, we really do have some of the best weed and some of the best processes. So, you know, in time, you know, that might be tested like hardcore as more and more states start to like get on board. But like Colorado, we've kind of like, as much as some of the regulations really suck ass, like, especially, you know, from like us, even just trying to do business, like they're there for a reason. And we have created some of the best cannabis and like some of the best products because of it.
Yeah, I will attest to any state. I mean, I've been to Oregon, Washington, California, Nevada. I mean, Colorado, hands down.
Nothing compares.
Yes.
Nothing compares.
Just, I don't know whether, and I really expect, being a California native and having, you know, Humboldt right there, I really anticipated really good dispensaries. And it was like, I mean, one dispensary I went to, you have to walk down a driveway into a garage. I felt like I was in high school again.
Yeah.
My Lyft driver was like, "This is a dispensary?" And I was like, "It says it is."
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not out. I'm going to call the cops.
California is still so like half regulated. You know, they have like they have some rules that you have to abide by, and like that's really it. But Colorado has like literally like every single corner of it. They're like, okay, this is how it's gonna go. This, and this, and even if it doesn't really make sense, like logistically, like it's like this is your rules and you got to work within it. Which is why I think that we have come up with some of the better products, because we've had to work around so many quick changes and stuff like that. So it's like the products that have remained and exist now are like some of the like the time tested, like we can handle this change, we can go through these processes, and we will like meet these demands, and we will make the best product for the consumer. Like,
yeah, I think you're right. You know, they were up and running the day it started practically. California, that took a year for them to even have dispensaries, and they already had medical. I never understood that. But anyways, speaking of regulations, how are you guys handling this HB 1317 amendment in Colorado? Is it affecting you much? I know there was like packaging changes and they're talking about limiting concentrates.
Yes and yes. So that will officially go into effect January 1st, and I'm sure it will affect everything so hard. You know, we kind of have that mentality of like, well, let's just sell as much as we can before the regulation officially changes. And then after that, it's going to change medical very hard, especially because that's where all of the bulk concentrates really go through.
Right.
We'll see. You know, it's just one of those fun, it's a curveball, baby. Let's go. They're gonna figure out how to work around it. Like, but it's interesting because there's been a lot of things that have tried to come on the market before that kind of regulated to like single dab uses, and I think that, and they never really stuck around because everybody's like, well, I'd rather buy a big glob of concentrate. So I'm wondering if those things will actually start to like come back and add value, and then it will be easier to buy in bulk without being so restrictive. So the problem I'm concerned really about the packaging issue, because we already spend so much on packaging in the cannabis industry. It's insane, just because of all the child resistant stuff we have to go through. And if you actually want a pretty package, like good luck with that, you know, like you're gonna have to actually pay like decent money to get that going, and depends on what you want, and it has to be child resistant to whatever extent. So it's like there's so many things to consider, where it's like most other companies that don't necessarily have those regulations. Like if you have a box of mac and cheese, it's a box of mac and cheese. You can put it in a bag, you can put it in anything else, but like we have the strain mac and cheese, and it's like it has to go through a lot of stuff. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes, because I think whatever can make it reasonable for both the consumer and us as the retailers, that's what's gonna last. So it's gonna be a bit of a roller coaster, you know. People are gonna be pissed, like even though they have time to prep for it. Like med patients, they get angry, you know, like they're used to something for so long, and this is their medication, and like, but we'll figure out something. Like I said, the industry, we learn, we adapt, we swift, we pivot.
It's a weird time to bring up any of that, because I know another thing that happened over the summer is like Chuck Schumer in the Senate has brought up the MORE Act, which is going to completely remove, you know, marijuana from scheduled substances, which means there will be more patients and there will be more research on, you know, the benefits of it medically. And it's a weird time to make it more difficult when it goes national.
I would agree with that, you know, and well, I mean, decriminalization is a step, you know, that's still not legality. I just have to make that clear, just because it's not the same, but it's a huge stepping stone, and it could at least get a lot of innocent people out of jail, you know, away from actually like facing these criminal charges. Like, you know, these 18-year-old kids who just wanted to smoke weed and get high, you know, like nobody should go to jail for years and years for that, you know. That's not a criminal offense. It's not a drug. So it's a beautiful and huge step, and that means that hopefully within the next 5 years we will see legalization on some front, even if it's just like, you know, the U.S. is just, you know, states do whatever you want to do, kind of like, you know, when prohibition went away with liquor. So
that was the way in. I noticed they were saying, you know, this could technically mean that like small businesses could apply for federal, you know, SBA loans and stuff for cannabis industry. And I know that we've had guests here who wanted to make goods, and packaging was what was holding them back. And now I'm finding more restrictive packaging at a time when small business loans are going out. And I'm just wondering, you know, now you're going to be paying for that packaging a lot. I remember when it first started here, we were paying for the bags that you guys sent.
You sure were. The childproof bags. I know. It might even go back to something like that at that point, you know, like those bags don't really get used anymore because everything legally has to be in childproof containers. But I don't know, that might be like something that people go back to, if like for bulk use for concentrates. Who the hell knows? Like people are going to get crafty. They're going to get creative.
Right. It's a complicated subject. It's so much going on. So that's interesting. It's nice, nice to hear an insider's perspective a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be fast and hard.
These laws at all, probably not the packaging laws. I can't imagine how that would be changing it. But I mean, as far as the industry looking for new commercial real estate, are you seeing a grow, or would you say it's been fairly consistent, or are you seeing a fizzle at all?
It totally depends. I was gonna say, you go. Yeah,
both of you, I'm wondering, because it's been around for a while.
No, you go. You're the real estate agent. I'm not.
So it's just right now, at least in Colorado, it's a really competitive market, and I think that, this is just a personal opinion. I could be completely wrong. But I think our timeline is going to be legalization recreationally in a handful of states. I'm from Connecticut. I know that Connecticut in 2022 just went recreational. But because of that, there's not going to be interstate commerce. So what I think is going to happen is that there's going to initially be an influx of people attempting to obtain land. And are just going to want to establish these businesses and expedite it. I actually know a really cool company that's doing shipping container facilities with the grow operations in them. So then it will save the time from building the actual grow house.
Nice.
I think there's going to be a very short time where each state is going to have to produce and can't go past state lines. And it's going to be interesting to see how the states legalize what's going to happen with commerce and the distribution of it, because you're not going to be able to drive it legally from an illegal
right
kind of Colorado, Kansas, and God, I'm really bad with maps.
No,
whatever's on the other side of
no, you're good. All the states.
You could go through the legal ones, and then if you get pulled over in the illegal states, so I don't think interstate commerce is going to happen until a while, and I think it's going to parallel what happened with alcohol after the prohibition. It's interesting, even the distribution lines on cannabis companies mirror it.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's the same though.
Yeah,
it's going to happen the same way. Yeah, it's just history repeating itself, really.
Huh.
Also, I didn't realize I need to turn a light on real quick, so I'm going to step up for 1 second, but I didn't realize the sun's setting. So sorry about that.
Take your time. Absolutely. So there you go, folks. Some inside information on some of this stuff. I've been kind of wondering myself how Colorado, if it does ever become national and there does become, interstate travel like that with it, we're centrally located and we've already, as you said, we've been well established. We'd be a great central grow location, right? For all over. But
and honestly, we're built for manufacturing, so many warehouses.
Are higher. So I'm wondering states like Nevada may compete based on, something like that.
I think it's going to be contingent on the value of real estate and its location.
That's fair.
That's kind of why, even though Oklahoma is it's been on fire for a couple years now with their market, and it's because the land is dirt cheap, and when something it has promise for when something like interstate commerce arises, because it's a centralized place, it is farmland, and they can produce at insane quantities. It'll essentially save money.
Yeah.
Colorado is a nice state, but the value of real estate here is astronomical.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Go ahead, please.
Sorry. No, I think we won't be a weed manufacturer. I think because we have so many MIP facilities and edibles and concentrates and things like that. I think that will be that's probably what we'll distribute here in Colorado. I think that'll be our main.
You and Kayla refer to MIP. What is this MIP?
Oh,
MIP.
Yeah, it's manufacturing infused products. Manufacturing
infused products.
Okay.
So that's what it stands for, right? Yeah.
It's just a facility where you make concentrates, edibles. The buildings have different prerequisites in order to have it be cultivation versus extractions. And
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. It's just that's twice now. I was I should Google that. but
No, there's 3 license types. Like as far as it goes, it's cultivation, dispensary, like facility, and then MIP. So those are the 3 kind of licenses that you can have, and transporter. Sorry, you can have that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Fascinating stuff. Well, thank you so much for that. No, it really is. Like, I don't know. And actually, now that we've kind of talked about growing and manufacturing on a smaller scale, Courtney, I did kind of want to know, do you have people, I've many times walked into a store and talked to a bud tender about starting growing, and it's so overwhelming. I don't even know what to ask first or how much to plan to invest on something like that. So the average beginner who wants to just start off with something small for personal use kind of a thing, like what is the first thing that they should be asking when they walk in, and what should they be looking for?
Well, if they really want to grow, they should probably go to a place that sells clones, which is far and few between, or just like see if you can find a place that has seeds, even seeded weed, like you can find, if it's a nice like brown color, you can try to pop a few seeds, and you just have to make sure it's female. There's a lot to know. It does seem overwhelming, but honestly, like you really just need to get a good place that sells clones, find a strain or 2 that you like. I would buy like 1 or 2, at least 3 plants, because you might kill 1 or 2. And then you need to make sure that you just give them like consistent care, and you have to listen to like the regimen of it. You have to give them the proper amount of light, the proper amount of nutrients. You need to flush them at the right time. Like it's more of just like being very disciplined with it. Like they very much are children, and you just have to go like through the process very clearly. So it's like you're gonna go online and you're gonna see a lot of people who are like, this is the best way to do it, but it's like, try to keep it as organic as possible, give them love, and again, just stick to the regimen, which is like when they're babies, it's like you got to get 12 and 12 hours of light. It's very strict. They need a certain amount of nutrients, which I'm not as well versed in. That's going to vary to who you are. You can just stick to like worm castings and molasses if you want to. You can get basic if you want, but it all depends.
Do either of you grow, or have you ever previously owned plants? I've never done that.
I have roommates that did.
Nice.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd much rather just go to a dispensary and buy it. I'm not, I smoke weed, but I'm not like an expert. I just take a couple of hits before I go to bed.
So I'm old enough to remember when you couldn't go to a store and get it. And when I first walked in and they're like, what are you looking for? I'm like, I don't know what you like, weed. I don't know what you mean. Like our choices were homegrown or like Indo. Like those were your options, maybe. And so there's so much now. They've really scienced the shit out of it. And I really love it. But it's hard to keep up with sometimes.
Well, I mean, it is kind of hard to keep up with, but honestly, like just go with your gut. Just like, what and like if the bud tender lets you smell it, or if they can just like describe like what like start to just go with what you like, ask the certain questions, like pick 1 or 2 questions that you want to ask, and then just ask the same ones every time so that you can try to get consistent answers, and then hopefully you'll find the ones that you like. But as far as growing your own weed, I kind of agree with her. Like it's a lot of work. You have to be really passionate about it. You like have to want it. Like I love growing plants. I want you guys to know I have like all sorts of plants. Like I love plants. But a marijuana plant, I don't have the strict regimen. I don't have the time for the strict regimen of a marijuana plant. Like
and then
for good weed.
God,
I could grow one, but yeah.
God, you have to sit there and trim it, and then you have to cut all the leaves off, and it takes forever. And you're like, it's like one night, and you have like maybe 2 ounces. You're like, oh my God, I could have slept.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You gotta be passionate. That's all I gotta say.
You pull a double shift,
discipline,
an extra ounce.
Yeah, I just buy the weed. That's why we grow it for you. Honestly, like.
Okay.
There's a reason.
I hear that. And I personally prefer it, leaving it to the professionals. Plus, like you said, keep it organic. I don't know what I'm messing with, so I appreciate the input. But I was kind of curious, just if there's a lot of that, homegrown going on still, I wouldn't do it. So
it's
anyway.
It's like brewing your own beer, if you want to get into it, get into it.
Like the passion, the art of it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you hear that. You love it. You probably already know what you're doing, and you probably already have it. So Anyhow, let's move on. We are also a pop culture show. So one of the questions that we ask all our guests is, what TV or movies have you been watching? And it's coming to the beginning of the end of summer. So what have you been watching this summer? Courtney, let's start with you.
I don't watch like a whole lot of TV, but my boyfriend has YouTube, and we've been watching Taskmaster, which is a British TV show, and it is it's amazing.
I feel like I've heard of it.
It's just a bunch of British comedians doing a bunch of random tasks, and they're so funny. And it's just, and they have a bunch of random seasons, and they're just giving each other shit. You know, they win bullshit awards. Like it's just really a comedy show. It's brilliant. It's good. And that's really it. I've been rewatching Avatar, The Last Airbender on repeat because it's going to be switching to, I think, the Paramount streaming service or whatever. And I'm not gonna buy that, but it's on Netflix, so I've just been like watching that on repeat to make sure that I can get enough until it's gone. And that's really it.
Oh, I hate when that happens to a show I like.
I know. It's my favorite show in the world. But that's okay.
Well, luckily it's fairly popular, I'm sure.
I just don't want to buy the but I have the DVD set, and my Xbox broke. I just got to make an investment somewhere, you know. I'll pick one.
I get it. I hear you. Kayla, how about you? Do you have any shows that you regularly watch, or
my taste in TV is kind of trash, and that's okay.
Mine is too.
I'm always watching Beavis and Butthead at one point or another. Like,
nice.
That's just always there.
Hell yeah.
But I just wrapped this show on Netflix called Sexy Beasts.
Was it good?
Like, it's a dating show, but they like put on like furry masks.
Oh. Oh man.
It's like parental control, but then it like, I don't know if you saw that show.
I remember
that. And then they do like identity reveals. And I want to do a screen share on this because it made number 9 on like Netflix viewers. Like, it's hilarious.
I'm going to look this up because I watch trash. I do.
Trash.
No offense to the shows I watch that I'm about to mention later. You're not all trash, but
it is straight trash. I have the preview.
I want to get married. I want babies.
I have the preview up. I wonder if I can screen share this.
Because of copyright issues, just if you have the screenshot so we can see like what they look like, that'd be cool. But I don't know what we're allowed to do.
You should have access to screen share in there.
Oh, there you go.
Boom. Okay, never mind.
The magic voice.
Thank you, magic voice.
We do have a question for Courtney real quick. How do you feel about the Airbender live action series or the CGI series go to Netflix?
Oh yeah.
Is it actually happening? I'm confused if it's actually happening. But if it's good, I'm in. Like they said that the creators, I think, are actually involved, and as long as that's true, I am in, and I'll give it a chance because the movie, like the live action movie, really, like I don't like to talk about it because I'll get really angry. So we're done.
I was trying to look that up for you quickly, being the gracious host that I want to
It's okay. I'm really excited as long as it's good and it holds true. And also I guess I need to look up more about it. I'm very curious, but I'll look up later because I'll get really excited. I don't want to distract. Sorry. But yeah, as long as it's good. Like I said, I just want it to like hold true and like maybe expand a little bit more on the story. That'd be cool.
There you go. I lost my you guys. Oh, there you are. Sorry. All righty.
I need to turn on a light really quick. I have to pull the same move. I'm so sorry.
All good. We got to make sure our lighting is right,
Kayla, do you have access to that? Do you see that you have access to screen sharing? You should have it. Yeah, you should have it. Be able to share.
Can I share something?
Yeah, you should be. You should be able to.
Okay. Full disclosure: we do not own any rights to this. This is from Netflix.
Yes.
It is so bizarre.
I have it.
That's what I watched this week on.
That's awesome. I have to admit, and here's the thing, I watched like The Circle and Too Hot to Handle and Love is Blind and like I never used to until the pandemic. And now I watch all of that.
it's at that caliber. And you know it's bad when you're watching it.
Yeah.
But it's entertainment for sure.
That's the whole point. I mean, I sometimes feel bad, but then I remind myself that is the whole point of it, is it's supposed to be silly. Well, that looks fun and intriguing. Thank you very much, because
You're welcome.
I definitely want to look that one up. You know, I myself have been watching, I watched 2 movies that came out this week. I don't know if anybody saw The Jungle Cruise yet.
I'm not gonna pay $30.
We're a Disney family, so $30 was better than all of us going to the theater, I guess.
Oh, you have a family. See, for $30 for me is ridiculous.
Specifically, we have a family that was going to see that the day it came out, no matter what. So,
Yeah, hell yeah. But you're paying for like 5. That makes more sense. Like for you, it works out. For me, going to the theater would actually be cheaper, like $13 for a fucking ticket. Would actually be cheaper than 30.
And now you'd have like all the extra space because some people are staying home. That might be I could see why it would be better for. Yeah. Anyway, so I saw The Jungle Cruise and it was pretty good. I thought it was really funny. I like that they worked a lot of the jokes from the ride into the movie. I don't want to say too much else because I know it's fairly new. So if you like Disney stuff and if you like Disney parks and if you like Jungle Cruise, you will like this movie. That is what I will say. And I actually saw the Suicide Squad movie that just came out. And I liked it way better than the first one. Yes.
Nice.
It's funnier. You can tell, I guess everybody says it this way. So if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Like you can tell it's James Gunn and not the previous Suicide Squad.
Great. Okay, great. Because the last Suicide Squad was fucking terrible, man. I'm so upset. And the DC, like the animated one is so good, you know? Like I don't know if you've seen the animated version of Suicide Squad, but it's like
Yeah. And I really like what they're doing with I just like that they're bringing in all these obscure characters. I've never been a comic book fan per se. I just happen to live around them a lot and now I live with them. And so I've always been aware of, but not like some of the characters they bring up, Polka Dot Man. Like I never ever would have. I knew King Shark, but that's because I watched the animated Harley Quinn on HBO, which is fantastic.
Great. That one's great. Yeah.
So I really you know, I liked it. I very much enjoyed it. I would recommend giving it a chance, even if you weren't a fan of the first movie. And other than that, I'm obsessed with the Olympics. I don't know if anybody else watches any of it or cares at all. No,
I can't.
Cool.
I can't watch it. I mean, there's no way to watch it. It's only on like what NBC, right? Peacock.
It is on NBC, yeah. So I still have old-fashioned cable, and so I watch all of it. It's been like a tradition, I guess, for me growing up was we watched it, and we're not even athletic people. It's so weird. I've never played a sport in my life.
If I had TV, I would watch it. I just don't have TV. But like I used to always keep up with the Olympics. I do love to know. I've watched like some highlight videos, but I really don't have any idea what's happening.
Oh, well, there goes that entire section. Thanks, Courtney. No.
Do you know what's happening? Sorry, Kayla, do you?
Olympic related. I don't know anything about Olympics, but I follow fashion. And did you guys see Liberia's how they had like a Liberian designer design their garb, and it's really high fashion.
Really? I'm gonna look it up.
On the team and like
Liberia.
A lot of like so it's like Google Telfar x Liberia. I can
What'd
share
you say? Telfar?
I can put it up here.
What'd you say?
TELFAR x Liberia. Telfar is a Liberian fashion designer and who has a high-end. It's mostly handbags. From what I've seen at least, but has like a really high-end line in America, does pretty well for himself. And he got asked to design their clothes. And a huge thing with like fashion representation and like these big events, like you'll see the American teams.
Oh, can you see? I can't. Can you see? Is this it? Are those it?
Wait. Yes.
Those are it. Cool.
Those
are cool.
But it's a big statement because it's like what you walk in on, and it's a lot to do with status, and to like bring such a small Olympic team to that caliber and it be very chic and like gender fluid. I thought it was really cool. That's what I know about the Olympics though.
It
That's
is really
really cool.
awesome. It's not the only
Yeah.
you know, outfit related issue. You know, I don't remember which country it was, but there were women gymnasts who showed up in just like full, you know, like full length shorts.
Yes,
And,
finally.
yeah, a one piece. Like I don't care if that's what you're comfortable doing it in, that's great. But like I think it's ridiculous, especially because some of these Olympians are like 14, and I wouldn't let my 14-year-old wear something like that to a pool, you know, and the whole world is watching. It's I don't know. I'm no prude, but
I agree with that. No, I agree with that. It's just like, let them have their youth, man. Just let them wear like something a little longer.
yeah, so let them totally relax. They're not going to worry about that camera angle, and let them do their flip and you know. So
Yeah,
I'm
not worry about
the
the
politics, and you know, I'm bummed that you weren't able to watch it this time around. But we can move on. That's fine. I won't.
I know, and they added
No.
they added so many sports. They added skateboarding and rock climbing, like badass.
They did, and that was the great part. Is I have young adult boys, and so especially my younger one, he did parkour. He even worked a couple summers doing like the little group lessons for beginners at a parkour gym, and he does like flips on trampolines and, you know, balances on ropes and scares the shit out of me all the time. And they brought in like skateboarding, and they had surfboarding, and rock climbing was on there, and he was
badass.
That got him in. And then he found like gymnast trampoline, and it's like that was our little bonding moment. Like we watched hours together. It was great. And I really love that they're updating the sports, and I you know,
Yeah,
I
with
think
the times.
yeah, I think that will keep their viewership high, because
Yep.
Some of it's so formal that even I love let me think of one. Kayaking. There's an example. Kayaking's interesting. I don't know if I want to watch them go in a straight line as fast as they can for 1,500 meters. It's tough. It's a tough sell. And then if we watch commercials in between, which who watches commercials anymore? So good luck to them on that. I hope they continue to you know, appeal to a different audience.
My live TV is hard.
Yes, it really is. So you know, speaking of, the next segment that I had originally planned to do when I was asked to host this show was going to be kind of a bracket of stoner characters, because the, you know, the women in weed thing and the pop culture thing. And so I thought there aren't a lot, like you can't think of a lot of Cheech and Chong women, right? And so I was going to do a bracket, but then I realized there's two of you, which means that in theory, every time you tied, I don't really know what we do, and I didn't want to overthink it.
I can be the tiebreaker if you'd like.
No, because I realized it wouldn't work, so I didn't do my brackets. I had a bracket generator and everything. But instead, what I was going to do is use the 12 characters that I found listed from different places, that most people said if they were real people, this would be their dream smoke session, I guess you could say, which I guess I hadn't really given much thought to. But they have a list of them, and we're going to go through them and just see, you know, what do you feel? Because I have to admit, like for me, some of them, I didn't really consider them stoner characters. And you'll see what I mean when we get into it a little bit more. But at the end of it, tell me maybe which one you think you would most likely want to have a smoke session with. So the first one we're going to go with is Ilana and Abby from Broad City. Anybody watch that show at all? Are you familiar with it?
Yeah,
I definitely would. Kayla?
I haven't really watched the show, but I've heard there are two funny girls from Brooklyn, so I smoke with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Totally.
The second most popular answer was Frankie from Grace and Frankie. Is anybody familiar with that show?
No. But sure.
Isn't Frankie the one that gave them peyote in the first episode?
Yes.
Yeah, I smoke with her.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I can't remember.
Oh my God. Like, give me like a nice joint and a Chardonnay, and I would like.
Right? Absolutely.
Like, and that's the only time I would ever drink Chardonnay, but I just feel like that would just be the moment.
Just to watch her.
Yeah, that would be like, that would be awesome.
Right. The next character that I thought was an interesting one was Jackie from that 70s show. And the reason I thought that was interesting is because nobody said Donna.
I would love to smoke with Donna probably over Jackie.
right?
Yeah.
Personally, just because I feel like Jackie's kind of a lot, but I would still smoke with Jackie.
She's gonna like talk over the 8-track, and you're gonna have to fast forward all the way to the beginning.
Yeah, I would rather smoke with Donna.
Exactly.
She's
rad.
like the annoying little sister.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
get that reference. I thought she seems like the kind that would kind of fuck up your high, make you.
Maybe
think
they
your
just
parents are
couldn't
home
remember
early.
Donna's name.
She was too busy smoking. She doesn't give a
Yeah.
shit. No.
Couldn't give a shit.
The next one is Samantha Jones from Sex and the City. And this was a weird one for me because I don't consider her a stoner. I remember some episodes where she smoked, but it's been a long time since I've seen the show. And I don't remember her being a regular smoker. I personally don't think she'd be my smoke buddy just because she seems snobby. And I don't know. Like, I
have never watched Sex and the City. I have no idea what she's like.
She was like the frisky one. The more
I'm
adventurous.
gonna say no. It just doesn't seem like my show anyway. I don't feel like
Yeah.
those girls are like, nah, I'm good. Maybe.
It's funny.
At the end of the day though, I'd probably smoke with anybody, you know.
At least once, see how it goes.
At least once. Yeah. What if they're chill when they smoke? I don't know. What if we have a good time? I'll give everybody a chance. Why not?
That's the whole point of the cannabis culture, you know.
Right? Here,
Always-
let's pass the joint and talk. Okay, maybe not this, you know.
I would-
Or maybe this, you know, we don't know.
I would
Right.
totally smoke with her. I feel like she would, because like, I mean, being from New York, I feel like she would know like certain areas, like the back of her hand. And I'd be like, wow, I smoked this joint and had like the craziest night ever in the city. Would it be like a regular thing? Probably not.
Just one
But
time
she's always
experience,
the one
maybe.
with the crazy stories in the show. Like she's the
She
most
is.
interesting.
She is.
I was
That's
like, why pay for a night? Yeah. Like I would love to have that like one story on the bucket list and like move forward.
There you go. There
Boom.
you go.
There it is.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
I love it.
There it
The
is.
next character, if anybody's heard of her, Penny Lane from Almost Famous. Does anybody remember that movie? Okay, we can skip her. I don't know. I mean, like you said,
Sure.
anybody. Choose.
I'll smoke with her. Why
Yeah.
not?
There you go. The next one is Amy from Trainwreck, which I believe was played by Amy Schumer. Which she's
I smoke with Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody out there? Comment and Dave will let me know.
I haven't seen the movie.
The
Sure.
next one is I'm not familiar with this at all. It's Jane from Smiley Face.
That show just came out, I think. I could be wrong though.
How would
It
people
popped
even
up-
know?
I don't know. It popped up on my Netflix, but I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either. Okay, we're moving on. This is an interesting one. It's the second time that this actress has been on this list, actually, and it is all the main female characters in 9 to 5, the old 80s movie, which would be
Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin, and I believe Jane Fonda.
Oh yeah.
I
Definitely.
absolutely. I just thought it was funny because Frankie was in both. And then the last one is Nancy from Weeds. Now, I again don't think she's a stoner, but I'll smoke with anyone, like you say.
You know, Nancy though, I don't know. I watched all of Weeds, and by the end of it, I don't know. I don't want to smoke with Nancy. I'm done with Nancy.
Seems like if somebody offered her a deal, she'd like turn you in, or you know.
That's what I'm saying. She's skeezy. I don't like her personality. I don't know. She'll do anything for a quick lay, man. Like, I don't know. She'll turn you in for anything.
Okay.
She's
So
just
you
not a
would
good. She's not a good
almost
person.
anyone.
She's not
No,
kind.
I don't think there were very many good people in that show, and I'm sure that was part of the point that
Yeah.
you know. But I just didn't consider her a stoner. I was like, well, I don't know. I don't really. She didn't smoke. That was the one thing she always said is you don't shit where you eat or eat where you shit or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say she would just smoke those occasional blunts with like the people that she'd bone. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Kayla, what are your feelings on Nancy from Weeds?
She's savage.
Savage.
She's savage.
Oh,
No
so
way.
she's not
I know.
smoke.
She was stabbed you in the back if it meant getting her out of it or like for capital gain. Like
Right.
she was a hustler. She was a business woman.
She
Okay.
was a businesswoman.
So
was so
maybe not
business
smoke
woman.
sessions, but perhaps invest in small business. ventures with Nancy.
No, because there'd be something black market.
She'd screw you over.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah, no.
You're just avoiding Nancy.
No.
It's interesting.
Keep everything
Because here's the thing, even though she was not a stoner personality, she is a huge representation of women within cannabis to pop culture, not in real life, obviously, because in real life there's much more ethics involved. But
she was just a drug dealer. It's
was
almost
she
like a Breaking Bad.
beneficial? Yes, like almost an anti-hero kind of a thing where you can sympathize, but ultimately,
Yeah, but ultimately is her own demise. It's one of those things because it's like Walter White is the same thing. You're just kind of like you love hate him by the end. You're just like fucking fuck this guy. But also like same with her. You're just like oh, Jesus Christ, Nancy. Like God damn it.
yeah.
So to the extent I'm like I don't know. It's one of those things that I think is successful in bringing weed more into like out of the taboo and more in pop culture, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think it was definitely helpful in that way. As far as being like positive for women, I'm not so sure, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I'm ambiguous on the Nancy character. I think, like you said, it was more at the time weed wasn't legal, so she wasn't just a woman in the cannabis industry because there was no cannabis industry per se.
Yeah,
she was a drug dealer, and that is a different dynamic.
But definitely powerful in that way. Like I appreciate like definitely the female forward like character. Like so I think in that way like definitely great because we don't have a lot of shows that are successful that are like really female driven. So like cool in that way. But they still flaunt her in like the classic kind of like I'm sexy and like all this other stuff way. So it's like
yeah. Lots of mini skirts and sucking on Starbucks straws for some reason.
I know, like a lot of innuendo, a lot of things that maybe just didn't need to necessarily be there for the sake, but whatever, it's fine, it's cool. That's what I'm saying.
All right, so Kayla, I'm gonna pop this on you first since we've been kind of talking over you this last couple minutes. Can you name a woman who you thought was influential in cannabis culture? And for that matter, does it really matter because it's kind of a progressive, or people think of it as a progressive industry anyways. So
are you referring to like a pop culture
in general? Yeah. Or is there a character in pop culture that you think represents women within like the cannabis and weed? Like, you think of Seth Rogen's, you think of Cheech and Chong, and then you think of the more, I guess, ironically professional marijuana people like
I think Rihanna all the way.
There you go. Okay.
Rihanna all the way. Like she's successful. She's a businesswoman. She's a hustler. She like is open about smoking weed in like appropriate places. She's very successful. She promotes like women of all types and figures. Like I think she's awesome. I think she's a really, really cool representation of like a very awesome person in pop culture that definitely smokes weed.
I love that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally.
Courtney, what about you? Can you think of anybody else? I really couldn't. I'm not going to lie. I'm more fishing for answers.
That her, and I was gonna say Whoopi Goldberg, I think is pretty substantial too. She definitely like has a big pull. She's as a huge advocate of marijuana, and like she even had her own brand for a second. So I think those are the main two that I can think of off the top of my head. And I know that there's more. And I feel bad that I can't think of them, but like I definitely got to give it to Rihanna. She's just such a badass. She really is.
That's very cool. I'm glad you guys brought up Rihanna. Props. I can't believe. My apologies. I'm sure she's watching and can't believe I said that or didn't say her name. But no, that's a great one. Would you say in your industries, both of you kind of work in or around cannabis, Kayla, with the clients that you see and Courtney with the people you work with? Is there that same, boys club kind of feel around cannabis? Like tech companies came in and you hear about these boys clubs within these kind of niche markets sometimes. And I don't know if, again, cannabis, you have this laid back image of everybody there. So is it still an issue? Or are there pushes to like increase women within that industry, or are women already doing really well on their own there? Thoughts, Courtney?
Or you go first. You can go first.
Okay.
I mean, it's still like 70 to 80% white men, which is totally fine. I mean, it's like monopoly, but like they had anyways. So social equity laws just passed very recently to only give out new licenses to minorities or females, leaning more towards the minorities because of that significant gap in hopes of closing it. And like, it's interesting in my opinion how they did it, because the social equity licenses are contingent on real estate and zoning, and it's really hard for now these new companies that have social equity licenses to find dispensaries and places to start their business because of the just because of how many there are and how many regulations there are around these new infrastructures. So yeah, it's kind of it's interesting seeing how it pans out. There's been a lot of talks of like companies absorbing social equity companies, so like they'll work on them as like a segment of their company to get like wholesale information. But again, like none of that, especially with the social equity, is in my realm of expertise. I just know more about the real estate aspect of it and how it's impacting them. From
no, absolutely.
That standpoint, it's really hard to find these new social equity licenses a place to operate, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, interesting. Courtney, what about you? Within the dispensary type industry, are you seeing a lot of women up in management? And I mean, but
yeah, I mean, honestly, it's still honestly kind of the same though. There's a lot of guys in the industry. You know, it used to actually be a little bit more female dominated, and there are definitely some companies and like some girls who are still like dominant in the industry, and like some companies that are female owned that are rocking it, you know, or that are like kind of mid-level, you know, starting to kind of get some more momentum behind them. So they exist and they're out there, but it's 70-80% like, you know, white men, and especially now a lot of bigger like corporation and more like guys who have gotten out of one big industry and are trying to come into this one and kind of unite it under like big, more corporation styles, because they're anticipating in the future, you know, that it will go legal. Like they will be able to bank normally, like they'll be able to integrate it with their business like a little bit more normally. So yeah, it's just big corporation.
I mean, once
white,
there's
white businessmen,
they're gonna jump in, aren't they?
Yeah, but there, like I said, there is a push in a way. There are definitely some companies like ourselves, like who are trying to push to hire just like more women, more even just like pretty much anybody who's not a white man, right? Like LGBTQ plus. I'm sorry if I messed that up, but like, you know, like any race, any color, like literally everybody, you know, like we'll hire anybody, but like I think it depends on the company, but there definitely is just like a balance needed, but I don't know how much we'll get it.
Interesting. Well, ladies, I really, really appreciate it. I feel like this was one of the most informative episodes I've ever been a part of. I really want to thank both of you for taking, you know, an hour out of your busy lives to talk about, you know, different areas of this industry, and in particular a female perspective, which apparently I was wondering if there would be a difference, and it sounds like there is. And it sounds like there's progress to be made. So forge on. And, you know, do either of you have anything? Sometimes people don't want to plug particular things just because they smoked weed on the videos. So I'm going to now, Courtney, pass it over to you if you would like to promote anything. Otherwise, just wish everyone a good evening.
You know, I want to promote something. So I'm smoking Local Love, right?
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be it's alien rock crystals, which will be an exclusive at Lova, which is where I work, and also where Dave works now.
And there's several convenient locations across Colorado.
There's 5. We're about to open a 5th location by the end of the month, which is conveniently located off of 6th and Sheridan. So,
nice.
Yeah, no, we're going to have 5 in the Denver metro area. So hit us up. Lova Canna Co. Get some Local Love alien rock crystals. Drop in, I think, like August 20th.
Ish.
August 20th. That'll be August 20th. That's a Friday, right? August 20th. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. It's August 20th.
August 20th, everybody. You heard it here. All right. Kayla, did you want to go ahead and promote anything, or just, you know, maybe plug a favorite stream you're on? Anything?
Courtney's response, I should say, like, thank you. I've enjoyed talking to you guys.
I hope it was
a great night. I don't have anything to promote. That was a great promo you just did.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, though.
This has been
fun. Cool.
Courtney's always on top of it. She's always got it. You know, I can always count on her. For sure. Listen, I am 2 or 3 weeks away from finishing school, so I have nothing personally to promote. But I will say thank you to our audience for visiting us and listening in on this episode. If you want to check out anything else we've ever done, see what else is going on, you can visit us at Mile High PotCast. We're on Twitter, Facebook. You can Google us. Whatever social media you prefer, Mile High PotCast in some form, and you will find us. Message us, tell us what you think, tell us what you think we could do better, whatever you got going on, you could do that. You can even offer to sponsor us, and we would be happy to work out a very reasonable agreement on that note too. So, thank you again so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this session, and as always, be safe and be smart and be kind, everybody. Thank you.
This has been a Truckee Pacific production. For sponsorship inquiries and comments, go to the Mile High Podcast at gmail.com.